It is setting up to be a busy period for Congress when they come back from August recess. Joining us here at Post 9 to talk about that, Representative Marsha Blackburn of Tennessee is here at Post 9. It is great to have you. Welcome.
It's good to be here. Thank you.
You know, people are trying to get in their head what this session is going to look like when you go back to work. What is priority? Is it going to be taxes? Do we make another run at health care somehow with the Senate? What's going to be the lead, do you think?
Well, we want the Senate to show some spine and come up with something on health care. They need to do their job. They've made a commitment. They need to get into conference with the House on the bill. And the House is going to keep working on our agenda. We've already passed over 400 bills. We are going at it aggressively. And I think it's time for the Senate to kind of pick up that pace. President Trump is very committed to health care, to tax reform, to getting the economy going again. And as you can see from the markets and everything that is out there, we're moving the right direction with the economy. So government needs to get its act together and move forward also. Skinny up government.
Are you sensing a big showdown with regard to the debt ceiling in September? And if that gets messy, what does that do to a timeline for tax reform in October, November?
I fully believe you're going to see tax reform before the end of the year. The debt ceiling, I think that you will see the White House and the administration work with the House and the Senate to find a way to meet the obligations that are there. Get a budget passed, finish with health care, and do tax reform. If we do that this year, I think that things are going to be in pretty good shape.
Instead, all we've been covering is infighting inside the administration and controversy, Scaramucci, Priebus, Spicer, and that's all just in the span of 1 week. Does that hold back the agenda?
What it does is to crowd out the amount of time that people are talking and what they're talking about, because it's the drama. And what we have from our constituents, they tell us they want to see action, get things done. And quite frankly, they're not paying that much attention to the drama. They're not paying that much attention to Russia. They're paying attention to who has a job and what their paycheck is. And they want that done. They're looking at the cost of health care. They're looking at the fact that they've lost access to health insurance. And those are the things that they come to meetings and come into our office and talk about.
Congresswoman, I'm surprised to hear you, though, say that you want the Senate to continue to focus on health care. It's what the president also has been saying in tweets. But the Senate Majority Leader indicated last week when he got that thumbs down from John McCain that they were moving on. And so does this continued focus on wanting the Senate to do something it doesn't appear ready to do at this point stall the agenda?
The Senate ought to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time.
Well, they haven't proved they can do that. I mean,
well,
they took a lot of shots at it.
The Senate likes to work in gangs of 7, gangs of 8. Let's be a gang of 51 and get something done for the good of the American people. Last week on a telephone town hall I did, 73% of the people felt like we should pass a budget and support the president's agenda. 80% wanted the Senate to make a decision on health care, whether they were for the Affordable Care Act or not. They said, get the job done. They made a promise and said they were going to do this, and they want them to deliver, and they want certainty. They want to put some certainty around what is going to happen in the health care arena. Are we really going to move back to patient-centered? Are we really going to let individuals make those decisions for themselves? Or are we going to continue this flopping back and forth between government health care and government decisions and the talk and the rhetoric? They're tired of it. They want some certainty.
You're going to have to get some Democrats then on board and/or at least appeal to the more moderate Republicans to get anything done.
We continue to ask the Democrats to work with us. We had a 27-hour hearing and markup in our committee on the health care bill before we sent it out of the House to the Senate. And we repeatedly asked the Democrats to work with us on this agenda.
You've done a lot of work in technology
yes.
and net neutrality. One thing we talk about here a lot is Amazon and their scale, their size, their power. Right. Do you see them coming under some antitrust scrutiny in the years ahead?
Well, we're beginning to hear a lot from individuals in the marketplace and innovators about what they term the tech monopolies, you know, Google and Amazon and Netflix. And I'm looking forward to the super hearing we're going to have on September 7th. Chairman Walden and I bringing in the heads of your big edge providers and also your ISPs, and talking about the issue of net neutrality, talking about how we keep a free and open internet and how consumers have the ability to protect, as I call it, their virtual you, their presence and privacy online. It's a discussion that we need to be having and make certain that people understand what that interface is.
But when a company, it doesn't matter how large a company gets or how large their exposure is to a consumer, if what they end up providing is sort of disinflationary, right? Lower prices, not big, not more, not higher prices?
These are all things we need to have as a part of our discussion on the 7th. We need to go in and look at what the net neutrality rules that the FCC, when the FCC went in and stole jurisdiction from the FTC and then said, we're going to handle privacy. We need to look at that. We need to look at that Title II reclassification and then talk about the free and open internet principles. No blocking, no throttling. Talk about latency and buffering and get to these issues that really make a difference to consumers. If we're going to talk about net neutrality, do we need to talk about search neutrality? So that when someone enters something and searches it, that it is indeed based on the algorithm of who is searching, not on who's paying for priority.
Right. Sounds like we're going to talk in September.
We are talking September 7th and looking forward to it.
Please come back then.
Absolutely, will do.
Thank you very much, Congresswoman Blackburn. When we